Hello everyone, welcome back to Urban Informatics and Modeling, and this is Josh, and today we'll be covering about Mapbox and Vick plan. So especially I want to talk about Vick plan first because that's the information before we go into Mapbox. So what is Vick plan? Vick plan is actually a mapping tool provided by Victorian government. So specifically in Victoria, if it's another state, that's going to be another website to provide any information that's relating to land or zoning or land parcel or any heritage building. So it's dealing with more an urban stuff and an urban scale permit and planning policies. So in here I want to show you how it works and how we did it in our project. So since our project is in Dandenong, it shows here there's an address, proposed address, current description, street, but we want to go to locality because that's the area that we want to analyze. So in here we have some codes with colored areas and numbers. So these codes and colors represent what type of zone are there. So for example, in our project, we are in RGZ1, 57 to 59 McRae Street, which is this one here. So you can see that it shows some information about what is the code for the land parcel and how many land parcel or land lot that the project has taken place. So in here on the left tab here, you can see that there's some information about this area. So I just clicked on this part here, which is 59 McRae Street, and it shows the parcel and it shows the property and it shows the zoning. So you want to have a look at this three because that's sort of like the information, the general areas and the detailed information about what this land parcel consists of. And then there's a property here. So this means that 2 land lots for one single property, and that's going to be sold. And this is the one that I think you might want to have a look at if you are doing with urban design stuff that is similar to what my group did. So there are 2 zonings planning policies here. The first one is VPP, the second one is LPP. VPP stands for Victoria Planning Policy. So it's a state government level and it's giving out the general instruction of how each zone should be treated and what kind of buildings and what kind of guidelines for that kind of buildings. And LPP is local planning policy. So local planning policy means that it's restricted to Dandenong and Dandenong only, whereas Victoria, it applies to every suburb in Victoria. So you want to go to LPP because that's more detailed. And in here, you have like minimum street setbacks, requirements, site coverage, permeability, landscaping, walls and boundaries, private open space. And in residential building, you might want to have a look at maximum building height requirement. So in here, maximum building height requirement for a dwelling or residential building is non-specified. That's why our group are able to build up to 8-story highs because there's non-specified, but our group also considers the urban design scale on seeing the architecture from an urban design lens. So you want to have maximum height just to make it similar to the rest and not very distinctive. So that's sort of like the information that you can get inside of this LPP. So in other places, for example in CDZ, you can have more information like public spaces and what is the use of the land. So in here it gives a more complexity because in public spaces there are many use of the land. So it goes from office to postal agency to education center to cinema, based entertainment, tramway and whatsoever. So there are also accommodations, hotel and industry, and these are the conditions that have to be made for the permit to be published. So, and there are also these codes here that you might want to have a look because that codes means what type of zone is it. So for example, here CDZ means that comprehensive development zone, and CDZ2 means that comprehensive development zone 2. So it's a difference. It's a different one from CDZ1 because they have similar planning policies, but due to the site and due to the specificness of the site, they have different variations. So CDZ is a comprehensive development zone, so it's a development zone for the central district. This is where Dandenong is currently developing, and that's sort of like, it's sort of saying that this area, the blue one with CDZ2, that's the area that they're going to develop as a center. So MU, for example, that's a mixed-use zone, and RGZ1, that's residential growth zone in which the project is taking place, which is here, residential growth zone, and it's different from GRZ zoning. So RGZ is actually a residential zone that is allowed to be developed, whereas GRZ is a general residential zone. So it's a different kind of zoning. So GRZ is more like normal residential with a single story house, and there's another one called NRZ, which is not in Dandenong, but it exists in about here, which is Dandenong North, and RZ, that's called neighborhood residential zone. So it's a different zoning system. So neighborhood is more like a cluster of living, and GRZ is more like single housing on the common single housing in Victoria. So what do we do with this kind of information? Firstly, it shows the zoning, which can be transferred into Mapbox. So this is a very useful information. It's a very visual information that can be used to Mapbox to map out and to lay out all the information that you need for site analysis, and to cross-reference it with other important information for you to take a decision. Right, okay, so we are currently in Mapbox, and you can see I have already made the zonings in my own color, and it shows a similar kind of zoning from Vick share. So let me just put that side by side and turn off this pedestrian catchment layer, and that's going to be covered in other video. As you can see, it's basically the same zoning area, but in different color. Like for example, the purple one here is CDZ, and the yellow one there is mixed use, and red one here, that's residential growth zone and public yellow, etc. So it's a very useful information, so you can know which side are you on. So these are our selected sites. You can see immediately that the 3 sites are in CDZ, 1 site is in mixed use, and the rest of them are just in residential growth zone. So we want to cross-check and have a cross-reference one information with another, just to show that we have the right information and to be shown. So our site selection is site 2, and you can see that it's in the RGZ, and that's sort of like a good way to visualize that, and to inform the site analysis that you've done, and to inform the site as an urban the site in an urban scale. So that's Vick plan, but you cannot upload it. You cannot export from Vick plan alone. So what I did here is that I go to Dataset, and this is by far personally the best way to do it, because you can have a maximum customization with the names and all sort of stuff. So go to Dataset, and I've already created mine, which is here. So in here you sort of like creating the areas one by one. So it's using this tool, draw polygon, for example. I will show you and just reference it from here. So I've already done Dandenong, so I'm not going to do that in Dandenong, but I will show you, for example, outside of Dandenong. Like for example, this intersection here, because it's quite small. Nope, I've already done it. Yep, it's here, this green between industrial zone between Green Street and Princess Highways. So you can see here that you can just create this area. Done, and then just add the property area, for example. Oops, apologies. Zones, industrial, and add another more. For example, function, for example, if you want to put, and sort of stuff. But since this is just an industrial zone, we don't have any specific function and other stuff that we need to have as a property. You can delete those. So save it, save, export to the tileset, and we will return to the studio right after this has been uploaded. Okay, so we're currently back, and let's see whether there are some changes or not. So usually in Mapbox, you need to wait for a amount of time for the tileset to be uploaded and to be imported again to styles. So there are a little bit of lagging in the in the website. So you need to wait, or if you want to see whether it's working or not, you have to zoom in until about 17 level of zoom, and then you can see it. But when you zoom out, you can see the rest, but you can't see any updates. So that's the thing with Mapbox. You have to be careful and you have to be patient, and you need to prepare beforehand before you change any type of information. So you ensure that you're not going to be late for any kind of presentation, and you will be ready by then. So that is all for today. I've just showed you how to do zonings in Mapbox. And one more thing is to separate this into colors. So here you can see that there's the Dandenong zones, there are the layers. So I didn't do layer per layer, I just do one layer and put the fill color based on the data conditions. Remember that in Dataset there are other functions, so the other functions and properties. So based on that, you can play around and manipulate the information inside to suit what you want to show. For example, here there are function that is just plain hospital and also education. So I've separated these two, so you can see that this one here is hospital. There you go, and its education is this one here. But in reality, both of them are public spaces. Both of them are public zones, but we want to separate those because we want to show something else. So that's why I mentioned earlier, it's better to make your own data set, because you can create and manipulate the information that you want to show or you want to hide. So this is how you do it. So fill color based on data conditions. So the way you do it is just to add another condition, for example, zones, for example, and then public. Choose the color, for example, pink. So it's going to extract all the information that has a name of zone and the property of public. It's going to extract all of them, and then just press done. So it's not going to be seen here because I think I didn't put any public space. But that's the way to do it. In this fallback value, you need to make sure, and you need to be you need to be careful with this one, because fallback value means that every other information that you didn't put as a data conditions is going to be in this color. So make sure that you have all the colors and all the data. Make sure that all the data has the colors, and you can leave the rest as a fallback value if you want to. So that is all for today, and I'll see you in the next one.